Morning, YouTube family. Martinez Country Home here. This morning, I wanted to talk about something that I was watching the past couple of days, and it's very important, that I share this. And honestly, a lot of these things I'm going to talk about, I've talked about before, but at different times, related to different things in the videos. Regarding as depending on what was going on, right? But as we all know, most of these things are all related. All of these dots are connected in one way or another. So I was watching a video series by Neverlosetruth, and it was on communism. I think it's like 4 videos that she made, and each video talks about how our country's been infiltrated by China in the different ways that it's been infiltrated, and the way that infiltration looks like. It's been obvious to me this was going on, just by what I see, but I didn't realize how deep the Chinese are as far as I don't even know if I can say that word. Everything seems to be off. You can't talk about it. YouTube will strike your channel down. Or anyway, I used to see the influence that China had, but I wasn't aware how much they had gotten into America, especially in the business side. Well, usually it's all business. I mean, all the properties they've bought up, all the contracts that they have, because of the politicians that sold us out, and it's all about money. So this war, this so-called war, this Cold War with China, honestly, I mean, I don't even know if you could call it a war when they were invited in, just like a vampire, just like when a host invites a vampire into their house. These politicians opened the door to the Chinese, and now they're here. You can see, especially where I noticed it was in the movies in Hollywood, believe it or not. I think they had bought up Disney or something like that, something to that effect. But I noticed that when I used to watch a lot of movies, right? I don't really watch a lot of TV anymore. I do watch some every once in a while just to unwind, and like I said before, I'm always watching, analyzing all these movies and how they're trying to give us notice. Anyway, I noticed that there was starting to be a lot of Chinese characters in the movies. The plot centered around a Chinese character, or a Chinese character having been the hero or whatever. You know what I'm saying? This video is not so much about communism per se, the Chinese, because communism, honestly, when it's communism, the government runs everything. The government controls and owns all the means of production, and they'll say that it's for the people, it's for everybody, and so they manage it, but the resources belong to everybody, so they dole it out. Honestly, I think that's too nice of a description of what's going on here in America and in a lot of places of the world. I believe more like the corporations are making all the laws here in America through the lobbyists, and to me the government here in America is just they just rubber stamp the things that the big mega corporations want, and they're there just to give the people some kind of idea that their government's still there, and that the government is the one that decides what goes. And in some things it does. In some things it does. It's still the law, I guess, but when it counts and the things that really count for this country, the big things, the government doesn't run anything. They're just, it's the corporations that are saying what goes. The central banks, like the Federal Reserve, they're the ones that are actually making the laws that count, and it's all to their benefit. And this is, guys, you know what, the financial system, the governmental system, it's so convoluted that, honestly, you don't really know what's going on. I believe that, when we talk about the New World Order, it's here, right? And all these governments or these mega corporations, they're the ones running things all over the world, all over the planet, and the people, like always, we're just the pawns. Like I've said before, we're just collateral damage. I mean, they don't care. We're resources to be exploited. Our actual human bodies are the resources. Through data mining and they come up with ideas on how to monetize everything, even things that in our minds cannot be monetized, but they do it. So a lot of times content creators, we try to focus on one thing, and we try to be clear about what we're talking about, but sometimes it's hard to do that because you have all these dots, all these things that are happening all over the world, and they might seem like they're not related, but they are. And so when you talk about one thing, really it's connected to something else. Like, for example, I believe that, like I said, the governments aren't really running anything of importance. Tours of the White House, little stuff that's not really, doesn't really mean anything to our lives. Where it counts, the corporations do that, the bankers, and it's all for the upper tier of society, the people that don't even work anymore. They don't even need money. They have so much money, these mega corporations, and the hidden hand that's running the world. So I believe that right now we're all under attack. Like, I just saw a video from Pinball Preparedness. He was talking about the Chinese again, and these are all good points that they're making. We're not wrong. All these content creators that are making these videos, what they're talking about is right, but they're all connected. He's talking about how, again, the Chinese, they're coming up through the southern border, and they do have a lot of contracts with Mexico. They're starting to catch a lot of people coming up through the southern border, Chinese, and if y'all get to watch that Neverlosetruth, and I'll leave the link in this video. If you watch that series, she talks about the Chinese, all the ways that the Chinese are involved in our country. You'll see that they're everywhere. Their handprint is everywhere, and how they're here. He talks about how they're coming up through the border, and in a lot of ways, people don't understand that it's like they're being let in. Okay, so this is the way I used to think. The governments control their borders. The governments control the corporations because they're the government. And when I was a young boy, I used to always think, why I did not understand why foreign countries could buy property here in America. Why were foreign countries allowed to buy real estate and buildings and things like that? I always wondered about that. why were foreign entities allowed to buy stuff here, and China, they're buying up all kinds of stuff. So it's like it's all business. It's all business. It's the upper class, the whatever you want to call them, and they're part of these governments, right? But the governments are these people are using governments, and they're using the corporations as like disguises, right? But it's all people. It's just regular people, ultra rich people, and they're using these things that they have put in our minds that they have the authority. They have the authority to. Just a second, guys, because it gets crazy right here. Whoa, dude. They put in our minds that the governments, especially the governments, that's the main thing, guys. The government is an institution that people believe has all the authority, and I think if it was a benevolent government where they managed the country, right, the nation, to what we wish, but it's not like that. And so all these things that we see going on around us, guys, with the health crisis and about inflation, that's another thing. Inflation's going up. The inflation, the health crisis, the world economy, especially here in America, they're printing up all this money. All these things are related. All these things are done for a purpose. And I look at the world very differently now. We're as preppers, sometimes I wonder, like, man, what kind of life is that where, our purpose is, the world is so messed up that we literally have to prepare the way we're doing in order just to make sure that that if things fall apart, it's that kind of world. But really, it's like the rule of the jungle, guys, where you have to be aware of your surroundings and everything that's going on. And it's very hard to do this. It's very hard to do that in this world with all the technology, and we're being bombarded with so many things that it's hard to keep them straight. It's hard to know what's what. Prepper Now did a video yesterday also. He was talking about how everything's a psychological war. Everything's psychological, and it is, guys. I'm always, my thing is that everything that we're going through is psychological. It's to break us down. The ruling class, they don't care anything about our welfare. If we benefit somehow through the processes that they put in place, to them that's not why they were doing it. They were doing it because it was going to benefit them. And if we get some kind of benefit from that, oh well. But they don't look at us as people. We're just bodies. We're just resources. And there's so many of us, that if we were to ever wake up, if the people were to ever wake up en masse, we could take their power away. But they know through psychology, guys, they know how to keep us in check. They know that even if there's a small percentage that wakes up, they know that the majority is gonna keep that small percentage that is awake. They're gonna keep them in check, just because they're gonna the the people that they're subjugating, they have such enormously bias that they're going to protect the system, because to them, they just want to keep the status quo. And you know, the communists, like in other countries, like in Russia, in China, you know, they would have these revolutions, right? Color revolutions and stuff, cultural revolutions. And that's why I dislike so much the BLM, because they're Marxists. They get these people, and these people, a lot of these people are suffering, and they use that supposed suffering, and they instead of trying to get them out, you know, and rise through their hard work or whatever, they pollute their minds. They mislead them into thinking that the Marxist ideology is the way out, when they don't realize that a Marxist ideology and communism, it makes it even worse, because the ruling class is solidified through that system. So when these revolutions happen, like for example, when the communists are trying to take over a nation, they ideologically subvert the country, ideological subversion. And the people that and one of the other things that happens is the intellectual class, the ones that are awake, the ones that are speaking out, they get targeted. They get targeted, and in some cases, they get executed. They're genocide. Excuse me. They're genocided. We really have to, you know. Luckily, here in America, I see a lot of people that are awake. I mean, I have a question. I wonder. The people that, for the most part, guys, people that are Republican, and I'm not either or. I'm not Republican or Democrat. I consider myself a person that I believe in capitalism, and I believe in our natural rights, and I believe in the Constitution that codifies our natural rights. Now, the Constitution being a financial instrument, that's a whole nother story. Really, guy? That's a whole nother story. You know, the point is that now the United States has the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I believe in those things, in what they represent. I understand, before some of y'all, I know some of y'all that I talk to, I understand, guys, that it's like it was a trick, really, into contracting or whatever, and it was not meant for us, the Constitution. But you know what? That's not the point. The point is that they got the idea. I was taught, I was raised that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights guaranteed our natural rights, our God-given rights. That's their fault. The government, whoever, the powers that be, they put that in my head. In America, we're Americans, and America is the land of the free, home of the brave. Whether that's true in practice, whatever, but in theory, in that's the way I was raised. I'm an American, and again, I know there's people gonna say, well, countries and nations are they're constructs, they're artificial constructs. Yes, I understand, but humanity, we are clannish, and again, the powers that be use that to their advantage. They separate us. They try to break us up into groups. But the thing is that we're all human, guys. We all know this. They try to break us up, and that's why they're always trying to classify. There's black, Hispanic, Chinese, white, LGBTQ, whatever the hell, all this stuff, man. They make up all this stuff, and they're always breaking us up into groups and have us fighting each other. So they use the psychology, guys, and that's why when you're, I won't be that arrogant and say I'm an intellectual. I'm not an intellectual, but I read a lot. I've always read a lot. When I learned how to read at a very young age, before I even went to school, before I even started school, I already knew how to read. I don't even know how that happened, but I just knew how to read. I just understood, and I've always been a big reader. And when you learn what your natural rights are, when you understand what slavery really is, and when you wake up to these things, I wasn't always awake. I'm not saying I was awake my whole life, but I'm saying that I read a lot, and I read a lot of psychology. I read a lot on that, because that is the way they control you. Even and some jobs, they have like little workshops for like CEOs and for upper management and stuff on how to be more efficient with their workforce, and all of these guys is how to manipulate your employees. Saying it, putting it out there, getting the most out of your employees. They have lingo, and I used to be at jobs, and the upper management, they'd be, the words they were telling me, I'm like, I understood that what they were trying to do. They're basically patronizing me. But guys, read up on psychology, because that's what's going on. All the other things that are happening, we're allowing it to happen because most people do not understand on that what's going on is psychological. And honestly, guys, this just gotta wake people up. Try your best, and also so you can fight back mentally when you come up with somebody spewing some BS like these BLM people, or even some of the Hispanic like the Raza Unida. They started off with good intentions, but you get these radicalized people that are from other communist organizations. They always infiltrate, and so that how to speak back to them, talk back to them, and rebut all their points, which are all BS. It's immoral. They're power hungry, and they use the people. They use their misery and their suffering. They use that against them. So anyway, guys, y'all have a great day, and just keep stocking up, keep preparing, because regardless of what's going on, the fact of the matter is that things are going to get hard. They're going to get more difficult, and so we want to be ready. And it's liberating when you know what's going on, guys. It's a great feeling. So anyway, excuse my rant. There's a lot to talk about, and so many things to talk about. It's just that's why it's so hard to pinpoint one thing, to be clear and to be focused on one thing, because there's just so much going on, so many things, but they're all connected, guys. Everything's connected. And keep your mind clear. Get most of y'all here, I know y'all not into the politics. It's hard not to. It's hard not to get caught up, but those politicians, everything they do doesn't impact us at all, because it's all for their benefit. Maybe they could go in there with good intentions, but in my opinion now, the way I see it these days, if you're going in and become a politician, you just getting in there, you were not voted in, you were selected because you're gonna play ball. You got some organized opposition, they're put there. It's all a game, guys. It's all a big game. It's all fake. It's not real. But what is real is the hunger and the suffering and the worrying about the bills and how you're gonna make ends meet, or all those things are real, guys. And all that was done by design. If they would have just let our financial system just let it be, we'd be very prosperous. But anyway, guys, I'll leave some links down below that touch on this video. So y'all have a great day, guys. Y'all take care of each other and love each other out there, because that's what we're here for. God bless.